I'd ask Mr. Rondell Fields to join us for us to talk about this very important thing called motherhood. Because while he represents the fathers of the nation who may run into conflict with the mothers at another time, and if you go to their website, you will see they make very clear that the nuclear family is the first desire. They make very clear that the coexistence and the mutual respect of father and mother is what makes Mother's Day special, and makes it special because mama is happy. And a happy mama is what we all want to have, and we all benefit as a result of that. Let's talk about something that, Rondell, that I don't think a lot of fathers pay attention to, which is the patience, the understanding, and the culture that says it's all right to make kids and go on and leave the responsibility totally to mama. I want to talk about how important it is for us to stand in place and do the support for the mothers who we are celebrating today.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. I mean, motherhood is equally as important as fatherhood all the time. I mean, I have a very strong single mother. I mean, one of the strongest you'll ever find. She's from Grenada, actually, and I mean, she brought that different culture and flavor into parenting, into a Trinidadian boys, because there's only boys that she had. So, I mean, she was strong and very good at it, because, I mean, it wasn't easy for young boys growing up and different things affecting them. Yeah, I mean, in some areas, she may not have had the capacity to teach us to be men, but, I mean, to be respectable human beings, I mean, she was excellent at that. And, I mean, sometimes by the things that she taught us, allowed us to get ourselves in trouble with. In other words, what she always used to say, she said, if you wasn't there, your name would never call. And sometimes I see some moms sometimes defending, sometimes when the kids do something wrong, and I look at that and I say, you know, my mother was the entire opposite of that. If you wasn't there, your name would never call.
That's right.
Sometimes she just say, you're right, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. If you wasn't there, your name would never have called. And I mean, I've kept that with me in so many instances. So I've always taught myself where to be at the right point in time. I mean, fathers, all fathers, I believe, understand the importance of motherhood, because we understand the importance of fatherhood. So definitely we understand the importance of motherhood. We all have mothers. We all, I mean, understand and appreciate what our mothers have taught us. Many of us were raised by our mothers alone, and thus know the importance of being fathers there now, because we didn't have that. And we saw the strain on them. We as the boys growing up then, when we reached that particular age, we had to say, hey, let's take this role of protecting our mothers. And we still needed them to nurture us. We still needed them when your heart broken, or you break up with your little girlfriend. You still have mommy to come and hold on to you and hug you. And even in the nuclear family, fathers and mothers have a different role. Sometimes daddy will give you the more stern advice or the more logical advice and say, hey, son, you look at this, you look at that, you do this, you do that. And mommy would be the one to just open my arms and come and take a hug, son. Come and take a kiss, son. And I mean, as a boy too, you're more open to do that with your mother sometimes. So we understand the importance and support it of that maternal, that maternal element implemented into your life. It's very, very critical. It's very important. And I mean, I wish a happy Mother's Day to every single mother. To my mother, I mean, she survived 2 strokes. That is one of the strongest women I ever met in my life. I always say she's possibly the best human being that I ever know. Best. I never see her angry with anybody. I see people do all kind of things. She never hold a grudge against them. Sometimes so much that people call her, you had to be stupid, boy. And she'd say, boy, once I love Jesus. That is all that. And I say, wow, but I say, if I could emulate that, then I mean, so much a better person I can be. So I mean, I love my mother till the day I fall off of this planet. And I must thank her publicly on here for being there for me all the time. The days when I used to give plenty trouble in secondary school, she crying in the principal office, but she's standing up there with man. I mean, I must commend her for that strength, because it isn't easy. It's not easy for sometimes a lot of single mothers as well, who has to carry that burden, particularly with trying to figure out how to deal with young boys, particularly. How when they are women, when they didn't experience going through what we as boys go through, that puberty stage when we becoming men, and when our voices getting heavy, and when we becoming stronger, and when we kind of take that form that kind of dominion naturally in us a day, that we are men and we're strong, and so I mean I guess it must be challenging for a woman to be able to still know how to guide you on the path, even though it might not have the figure her wrong.
It is 11 o'clock in the morning. We're having brunch from 107.7. The callers, we were taking the calls, and we will continue in about another 15 minutes. Let me explore the time I have with Mr. Fields here, because there are a lot of things that we want to talk in this area. So if you would just hold the calls for about 15 minutes, we will get back to you. And yes, Elmo will rejoin us as we continue to explore his disciplined life that he tries to keep nicely. But seriously, staying on the tip of this, there is... You mentioned you were from 7 boys. 7, you said?
No,
boys? How many boys?
No, two boys.
Two boys. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I thought that the poor lady would be killed by now. Yeah, trying to keep up with 2 is hard. All right. So, but we are talking about the difficulty of being a mother, and we have to come to the culture that we have.
Right.
The cultural problem we have is where men, on the one hand, will come out and praise their mothers.
Right.
They will almost die for their mothers.
Any day.
But for some reason or the other,
Right.
they see a young lady and they do not see that connect if they go about disrespecting her. 1.
Right.
2, they would talk about my mother, my mother, my mother, but then they would go have children and not be there with that person, that mother, for those children, which is kind of putting the cycle in action. Where the disconnect took place. You are the co-founder of the Single Fathers of Trinidad and Tobago, the association. Where the disconnect is taking place, has taken place, and what can we do to bring this back center?
Man, I think it's the concerns of your heart. I mean, they always say guard your heart because it concerns the issues of your life. And that's a very, very serious statement. Sometimes we look at it lightly. And I think it's a maturity issue that we have, both as men and as women, that sometimes we've had all the plans, we put everything in place, and to see that shatter in front of you, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's regret, sometimes it's jealousy, sometimes it's a number of issues as adults that we really, phases that we go through because of possibly the separation or the breakup, that kind of get us away from what we're supposed to really be looking at, which at that point in time is parenting and the child. I mean, we always champion, if it can work, if you all can live together, you all can fix it, fine. But if all else fails, and that's what I said, I'm not just saying walk away, I say if all else fails.
All else.
All else fails. Then, and you say, all right, let's be mature about co-parenting, because then now we need to focus on the child. Because one thing I would give from my personal experience, because I mean, you learn a lot from the experiences that you go through in life. And I dealt with it like that, like focusing on my son, making sure that the focus was they being happy, because we've now put them into a situation that is a strange one. And then sometimes you have this scenario where possibly you're a father and you grew up with a single mother, so you kind of accustomed to that life. You kind of understand and know how to expect certain things. But sometimes the mother grew up in a nuclear family and she doesn't understand that impact it could have on the child, seeing that she hasn't experienced it herself as well. So sometimes it's inexperience sometimes, and sometimes it's ignorance, sometimes it's we just putting ourselves in front of the children at time. And I would say some of the things we put into society as well has caused this as well. Because we've always pushed forward the baby mother, baby father, deadbeat father, no good mother. We love to push that into the airwaves. And I mean, what I've realized with Single Fathers Association, since we started talking about good fathers being there, highlighting, putting it on the positive that has always been in existence, putting focus on the need for family to hold together, the needs for family to work together for the benefit of the children. You're seeing a paradigm shift, I would say, socially, that sometimes I put on the TV and I hear people talking about single father as opposed to deadbeat father. I hear people talking about mothers and fathers work together for the benefit of the children. And I think that's what we need to keep putting out there over and over. Because sometimes we think we're just saying words, but we don't know who's listening to us now when we speak. And I mean, our words are powerful sometimes. Sometimes it resonates in the right place. That's why you go to church sometimes to get a little deliverance. You understand? So, I mean, that's what we need to keep doing. We need to start putting those positive things out there. Start looking. I mean, start being our brother's keeper again. Sometimes you would see a young child and the family is in disarray and mother here, the father there, and you've seen it and you know you could intervene somewhere by talking to the mother or talking to the father or talking to the child or being a mother figure for a child or being a father figure for a child at a point in time. Sometimes that's all that it takes, you know. Sometimes it's not, sometimes we look at yes, there are a lot of people out there whose biological parents possibly died or biological parents weren't wrong, but there have been stellar people who have been that mother or father to them, whether it be a teacher, it's been their grandparents, or it's been the neighbor, or it's been the community leader. And I mean, that's what we need to do. We need to take motherhood and fatherhood, even sometimes out of the biological realm, and start to mother and father children that don't even belong to us.
That's right. And that's the sort of community parenting we're talking about.